Here are 10 of the worst money traps many people fall into. Number 10. Zero value. In the 21st century, most purchases are emotional. It's no wonder we end up with a bunch of things that provide zero value. The truth is, most of the time, we don't buy things because we really need them. We buy how things make you feel. How many times have we found ourselves buying something on Facebook or Instagram just because we saw an ad, but then we don't use it whatsoever? Now, we're not differentiating between something that's cheap or expensive because our income levels are all different. Something that's really expensive may be really cheap to someone else. What we're saying is that for every dollar we spend, we should make it count, especially if we don't make a lot of money. Now, if you're a billionaire, by all means, buy whatever. But for those of us that aren't, we want to make sure we get the best return in value on every dollar we spend. Obviously, everyone is different, so getting max value for money spent is subjective. The best way to draw the line between things that add value and things that don't add value to your life is to see what things actually maximizes our quality of life. For example, finding a top-notch healthcare provider and eating the right foods definitely adds more quality to your life than purchasing, say, a Louis Vuitton bag when that person is a waitress at the local Applebee's. Number 9. Oops, not you. Yep, one of the worst money traps is marriage. And no, we're not against marriage, but if you decide to do it, make sure it's the right person. There are actually two major financial mistakes related to marriage. The first is marrying someone who just spends. The second part, of course, is getting divorced. Couples where both spouses know and apply financial basics do much better than the ones where one or both spouses have bad financial habits. No matter what our income level is, we always have to spend less than we make. It's not what we make, but what we keep. And when the other half can't control it, they both have a problem. It's very difficult for a married couple to accumulate wealth if one is a spendthrift. People have to be realistic in understanding the other person's money habits because who wants to be responsible for someone else's debt? The divorce is a major hit to any couple's finances. According to one study, those who got a divorce saw their wealth shrink by 77%. That's a much larger decline than that would have occurred by simply splitting a couple's assets in half. Basically, if we decide to get married and want to keep our money, only do it once. Number 8. Upgraded. Congratulations! You just got a big 25% raise at work. What now? Time to get a new house? Time to buy a new car? It's time to go on one of those fancy vacations we've always wanted to go on? Well, with this type of mindset, this is why there are people living paycheck to paycheck, even if they make $200K plus a year. Remember again, it's not how much money we earn, it's what we keep. We're nowhere near advocating being the most frugal person out there. We make money in order to live our life. However, we need to live within our means. Sure, having a big 4-bedroom house with a 4-car garage is nice, but not when the mortgage is half of our income. The stress that's associated with having to keep up with payments outweighs any sort of pleasure we'd get from owning nice stuff. The biggest mistake a lot of people make is immediately upgrading their lifestyle as soon as they get a raise in their paycheck and not saving it. If rich people kept on upgrading their lifestyle whenever they got a bump in money, billionaires such as Warren Buffett would not be where they are. That's because it would mean they never let their money do the heavy lifting. Sticking to reasonable set percentages of income devoted to things such as housing, cars, and eating all will easily help in getting the nest egg to grow. Number 7. The C word. Buying too much car is one of the easiest and biggest financial mistakes someone can make. You don't buy a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or any other expensive car because it's affordable or because you saved up 10 plus years for one. You buy one because you have money to blow. But really, not a lot of people are exactly making bad decisions with exotic cars. It's more of the Audi, BMW, and Mercedes crowd. It just doesn't make financial sense to buy a $50,000 car when someone makes $80K a year. Taking on debt to buy a depreciating asset is one of the worst financial decisions someone can make. Besides the purchase price of a car, there's also car insurance and maintenance. A lot of people think of a car as a necessity, and while that is true, driving a new Mercedes is not. Even buying a new Toyota or Honda is a luxury if it's not paid in cash. Sam over at Financial Samurai, one of our favorite personal finance bloggers, has a simple rule. Spend no more than 1/10 of your gross annual income on the purchase price of a car. And we agree with them. There are plenty of used cars out there to fit practically every income level. Even rich guys don't believe in blowing cash on a car. They'll buy used Ferraris that are a few years old and drive it around for a while. They'll let the super rich guys take the depreciation hit. Once they're done, they sell the car for close to what they bought it for, and they just simply pay for maintenance. Number 6. McMansions. When it comes to buying our first home, or really any house, we should always try to buy less house than you can afford. We really don't need as much space as we think we do, but a house is great. We can build equity in our house. Buying a house is a great investment because it will appreciate. While that may be true, housing appreciation is never a guarantee. Even when it does happen, the problem with a huge chunk of our net worth in a house is its diversification. Imagine having over half your net worth in a house and then have that property slowly lose more than half its value. Remember Detroit? American culture programs us to believe the things we buy must not only function but also reflect our values and personalities. We want a home to be more than a place to live. We want it to be an extension of ourselves. It's okay to rent. Renting isn't throwing money away. There are at least a dozen situations where renting makes more sense than buying, and people would still call someone a fool if someone chooses to rent. Buying a home does make sense, but only in the right situations. We should not overextend ourselves. And yes, we can make money buying a home, but most of the time it's because of luck, not actual skill in predicting the market. The less money we put into a mortgage, the more money we have available for rainy day savings, funding retirement accounts, and cold hard cash that's much more liquid than a home. Number 5, $1 at a time? We all know someone out there that are penny pinchers. They're the ones that say we should skip a daily cup of coffee for $2 and save several hundreds of dollars a year. Living like this is also a mistake. This comes back to living life, because the reason we make money is to live and enjoy life. There are some things where we should not even try and save on, as doing so costs way more mental energy than it's worth. Sure, we can save a few dollars by skipping that latte, but we have to look at the big picture. How much can we realistically save over a year by doing that? Not that much. There are just certain things we should never skimp on. One example is food quality. We should always eat the best food possible because it pays off in the long run, and it's way cheaper than healthcare costs. Frugal people get into saving mode and completely forget that there's an even better thing to focus their energy on. That thing to focus on is making money. There's a limit to what we can save, but there's no limit to what we can earn. Spending way too much mental energy to save a few dollars here and there makes no sense for even the average American. Instead, focus on saving on the big stuff, such as housing, a car, insurance, and entertainment. Then focus the rest on more streams of income. Number 4, cash money. Surprise, surprise, one of the biggest financial mistakes is not saving money. You guys knew this one was coming. According to a survey, the vast majority of Americans, or 78%, are extremely or somewhat concerned about not having enough money for retirement. And for good reason. 21% of Americans have nothing at all saved for their future. That's just insane. Move to the next 10%, and these people have less than $5,000 tucked away. That means almost a third of Americans have only a few $1,000s or less put away for retirement. Of course, some people are more prepared, but overall, Americans with retirement savings have an average of around 85 grand saved, which is far from enough. Experts typically recommend trying to accumulate at least $1 million. Yeah, that 85 grand is a far way off. The sooner we start putting our money to work, the less we have to work in the future, because we're letting our money do the heavy lifting thanks to the power of compound interest. So what's the easiest way to save money? Well, just automate it. Make more money, don't upgrade in lifestyle, and then save away. Number 3, not a bottomless pit. Budgeting is the single biggest tool we have to take control of our money, achieve our financial goals, and set ourselves up for long-term success. But unsurprisingly, many people don't do it. One of the most common complaints about budgeting is that it takes too much time. Sitting down and writing out the budget is the easy thing, actually. It really doesn't take that much time to write down all our recurring expenses and figuring out disposable income. What's actually the hard part is sticking to the budget. While it can be tough to get used to tracking expenses in the first few months, once we get used to it, it becomes second nature. There are many great budgeting apps out there for our phones. All we have to do is put in what we spend. This means that you only have to take less than a couple of minutes at the end of the day to glance at how you are doing spending-wise. If tracking spending seems too overwhelming, try the envelope method. You set up different categories, and each category gets an envelope with a certain amount of cash. Use cash for the majority of your categories, and when the cash is gone, then you know you can't spend anymore. Number 2, I deserve it. Having a YOLO mindset is probably the worst mindset to bank accounts all around. This is the reason why so many multi-millionaire lottery winners go broke. We all live in an era of instant gratification. Hard work, sacrifice, and difficult choices don't get rewarded immediately, so it's extremely easy for people to take the easy way out and go for that dopamine hit of buying whatever it is. Way too many people think they deserve the good things in life, even when they've come nowhere close to actually earning it. This kind of thinking is dangerous, and not just because it leads to financial instability. Buying things just to buy things is a fleeting pleasure. Sooner or later, regret will set in. Unnecessary purchases will feel luxurious at the moment, but ending the financial stress of living paycheck to paycheck life will feel far better in the long run. And in order to do this, we always have to make the harder choice. This brings us to one important life lesson. Whenever we're faced with options, we should always take the hardest one, because if you think about it, that's actually the one we want, or else it wouldn't be a hard choice. We got that lesson from modern philosopher Naval Ravikant, and we could not agree more. Number 1. Make more money. Surprise! The biggest mistake people don't do? Not focusing on making money. It's so important that it deserves its own section. Having several streams of income is the key to being financially set. That, and again, keeping what we earn. The only way to build wealth is to have a surplus of money. Take it from Floyd Money Mayweather. He knows the importance of cash flow. He's still building income streams even though he's super rich. We want to get rich as fast as possible, not save to $1 million by the time we're 90. And for this, we need to make enough money so that our surplus in money can actually get us rich. Cutting spending and using frugal solutions may be easier to do than increasing your income, but again, there's a limit to how much we can save, but there's no limit to how much we can earn. Here's what's next.